Hi, this is John Krysinsky, Pittsburgh Sports Live with Pittsburgh Soccer Now. With me today, joining me, Chase Brooks, head coach of Duquesne University men's soccer team. Chase, first of all, before we get into looking at the NCAA tournament this past, that's coming up this weekend, the Elite Eight matchups, Chase, just first of all, congratulations on really a great campaign, undefeated at home, and obviously, I personally think the Atlantic 10 is no cakewalk. So to go 3-3-1 in a regular season and then make it to the A10 final, just a great achievement.
Oh, we really appreciate that, and thanks for having me today. And yeah, I mean, the A10 is I think an underrated conference, and we're a little bummed not to get one or two more teams into the NCAA tournament, but it's great to see St. Louis representing us as well as they are.
Yeah, let's start off the bat before we get into the Pitt-Notre Dame matchup, which I'd love to get your takeaways on. St. Louis, you played them in the final, and earlier this spring, I think you had to play them in the round robin, the schedule setup. So you're probably pretty familiar with them at this point. The Billikens, the only remaining undefeated team in the country, and now they have to face Washington, number 2 in the country. Really were the number 1 team for a long time. Washington was, until Oregon State knocked them off late in the season. What type of matchup are you expecting? And from what we know about Washington, they played Pitt in the Sweet 16, I believe. Well, actually, it was the Elite Eight. Actually, it was the Elite Eight in the spring. And they were real tough physical matchup. So how do you like St. Louis's chances to get to the College Cup?
I mean, it's a tough matchup for sure. I mean, Washington at Washington is going to be an extremely tough matchup. Jamie Clark is a great coach out there, but St. Louis is no slouch. They've got 2 of the better attackers in the nation. Certainly 2 guys that are at the top of the charts or near the top of the charts in the both goals and assists categories. And they're just a well-balanced team. 4-4-2. They can possess the ball. They can play a little ugly at times if they need to. I think that's what has helped them this season. And to me, that's the biggest difference between last year when we played them in the spring and this year's that balance that they have, the ability to possess as well as play ugly at times and just defend and kind of scratch out a victory on the road. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup. I still think it's a tough one, to travel across the country to play Washington at home, who's had such great success. Again, I think Washington's only given up 13 goals all year. SLU's given up 16. So it's going to be an interesting battle. I think, whoever scores first is definitely going to have the upper hand in that one.
Yeah, I wrote about the Pitt-Notre Dame game, thinking that if, whichever team, we can address that. I think that's critical in these type of matchups for sure. But yeah, I mean, in terms of your approach in game planning for St. Louis, what was your approach, especially heading into that Atlantic 10 final?
Yeah, they're well balanced. Their flanks are so dangerous. A lot of their goals come from crossing situations or balls cut back into the box. Balls being worked outside to in. So they're very dangerous. So we knew we had to kind of shut off the flanks. So we kind of changed up and went into more of, I guess you could say more of a 5-2-3 or call it a couple different things, but 5-2-3 to make sure we matched up better with their outside backs getting forward and to make sure we could, kind of stop their flow on the wing. It worked to an extent. Washington, obviously, I believe they play more of a 4-4-2 as well. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup. So I don't think either team really has to change their style, which I think is a benefit for both programs. And so really for me on that day, it's going to be about who executes their game plan the best and who capitalizes on the mistake, because both teams have quality players. I think that's, it's just going to be a fun one. I think that's going to be one of the more fun matchups to watch.
Absolutely. And these teams like St. Louis that seem to be able to adjust to whatever opponent that they're playing based on what you're saying, that really helps getting this far in a tournament like this.
100% agree. 100% agree. And I think that's why you've seen them dig out so many wins this year. And, every game that was close, they found a way to win. And I think, it helps obviously when you have, I think Palazzola, who's transferred in from Indiana, who's Indiana's captain, who's played for a national title. Anytime you get a grad transfer like that, I think to me, that's a big deal, because there's a guy that when things start to go off the rails for SLU, there's a guy right there that just calms things right back down, brings everybody back to center because he's been there, he's done that. And I think that was a huge addition for them this year.
Yeah, so we'll definitely be looking forward to that matchup. One more before we go to Pitt, Notre Dame. WVU, local regional school, if you will, Dan Stratford. I mean, I was 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago this coming week, he brought in the Charleston Division II program, and they were just firing on all cylinders and really impressed to win the national championship. Now, not even 2 full seasons, he's got WVU in the Elite Eight and really did some really great things during the regular season. Now they've got a tough challenge. They have to play Georgetown. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
Yeah, I think even Dan would say that they're a little ahead of schedule than even where he thought they'd be at this time. But what he's done there is just fantastic. And we played them in preseason, and they were just another team that was extremely well balanced. I think if you look at their stats, right, so they've got 34 goals for, 13 goals against, just another tough team to score against. And there's a lot of belief, and belief can get you a long way. And so they were a fun one for us in preseason. And so I think they've got a good chance if they can keep it close as the game wears on. And Georgetown's a tough place to play. I think it's about a noon kickoff. You never know when the helicopter is going to come land and kind of stop play. So I think if West Virginia can stay focused and keep it close as the game goes on, they're used to winning games late and winning tough games like that. So I think they've got a shot just because, again, Dan is he's been in situations like this before, obviously with Charleston and, as the head coach, and then obviously as the assistant at Charleston, and then, having played at West Virginia, I think he understands the environment pretty well.
Yeah, I just was impressed with, there was a real change in terms of personnel and be able to do it that quickly as well. I know you've dealt with that as well. Sometimes just trying to bring in your own guys and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, getting your own guys in is always huge for any program. And I think what you're seeing is, Dan, and I think, obviously it goes back to Chris Grassi when he was there at Charleston as well. And then before that, when he was at Michigan, they just know how to recruit. They've got a science to it. They've kind of figured out exactly what they're looking for. And I think it helps, again, the understanding of the university is absolutely paramount when it comes to recruiting, knowing exactly what type of student athlete's going to have success. And I give them a lot of credit. They figured it out quickly, and they aren't looking back, which is awesome to see.
And as we're doing this, the thought that goes through my mind is, Chase, you obviously know your way around the Division I landscape, and Division II sounds like too. But it just interesting, and to see the schedule that you laid out for Duquesne this past year. You played, obviously you played Pitt. You played Michigan State, you played Kentucky. I mean, these are teams, especially Kentucky was right in the mix. I mean, they were that close to knocking off Clemson. That's the other semifinal that Clemson has to go to Oregon, another Pac-10 team. I don't know if you know much about that matchup, but yeah, you seem to have, I don't know, I guess it's college soccer world is a small world too in some ways, right? It
is with just over 200 programs. It's a small world, man. And we were that close to having on our schedule 4 teams that would have been in the Elite Eight, which was pretty cool, that to have played against teams like that. And, I think, you look at our squad this year, we were young this year and in many of the positions. So it was just a great learning environment for us. And obviously to have played against teams that are now competing in the Elite Eight and the Sweet 16 is just fantastic. And so, our hope is that obviously we can build on it and continue to take that next step. Because, again, there's so many good coaches, so many good teams out there. And we're excited to be in the position we're in today and looking forward to next season.
All right, so let's wrap it up by talking about the game everybody around this area is really interested in. Pitt, Notre Dame, 3rd time this year. To me, I wrote about this contrast in styles. I've watched both matches. I was there for the second one. I mean, you couldn't have 2 more different type of teams playing each other in a match to go to the College Cup, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, Notre Dame's going to sit back. They're going to counterattack, and they're so good at it. And Pitt is one of the most electric attacking teams I've ever seen. I mean, obviously they torched us in the first game of the season. Really taught us a lesson that I think was great for our guys, unfortunately. But it's the interesting one. I think if Pitt can keep Notre Dame off the board, it's going to make it very interesting because Notre Dame wants to keep the game close. They want to keep it scrappy. They're going to want to counterattack and they're going to want to defend it. And there's the old adage, defense wins championships. So that's why it's going to be a tough one. But I'm a firm believer, actually, that probably the winner of this game has the best chance at winning the national title this year. So I'm really excited for both programs. Obviously, I know the Pitt staff very well. They're great guys. And I just love their style of play. I just think it's so much fun to watch. Again, not when they're scoring on your team. It was not so much fun that night. But they are a fun team to watch. And they've really got it clicking. And so this is really going to be an interesting one to see, which style gets it. Is it more the defensive minded? Is it in the counterattack? Is it more of the offensive? Let's go, let's push. I mean, Pitt's only given up 22 goals all season. I think Notre Dame's given up 17. Like, it's going to be fun to kind of see that dynamic. And it's hard to beat a team 3 times. That third game, Notre Dame's obviously had their number in the first 2. I'm really intrigued with this one for sure.
17 goals. It doesn't even feel like Notre Dame's given up that many. I mean, they haven't given up a goal in the postseason at all. The last match of the season, they gave up 3 to North Carolina. But really, other than that, and the Virginia game, I think in early October, I think their struggles were mostly very early in the season. How do you, break through? I mean, Pitt is knocking on the door. They just keep running into a wall every time you turn around. There's like a fortress in front of the 18. They're trying to get crosses in. Most of their crosses are being blocked. I mean, I watched the Wake Forest match, Notre Dame, just same thing. And Wake Forest maybe tried a little too hard to go 1v1 or 1-on-3 at different times. But I know Pitt's a little bit more disciplined than that, but what's it going to take?
Well, I think you touched on it, right? The discipline, the ability to keep with the belief in your principles, I think is huge this time of year. And the other thing I'll say is keeping things simple. I think it was Johan Cruyff that said it, simplicity at speed looks like complexity, right? And so for me, that's if Pitt can keep it simple and keep that ball moving quick, 1 and 2 touch in the attacking third, no team is at this level is going to be so disciplined that they're going to be able to have the right movements 100% of the time. So those gaps are going to open up. And if you can keep the ball moving, get them moving side to side, I think that, you're going to have chances to pull them apart. And then are you there to be able to capitalize on it? And then Pitt has proven as the season's gone on. I mean, they're no slouch with 51 goals they scored this year. They can find the net. So if those opportunities fall and they can especially get one in the first 15 minutes, I think watch out. I think that's where it's going to be a lot of fun because now Notre Dame's got to chase the game a bit. And that's a tough situation to be in.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the mentality. And speaking with a couple of the players yesterday, I sensed that they're eager to get that first goal. But then if it doesn't come, they got to be prepared for those challenges. Right. You talked about the importance of Pitt playing side to side. Just what about that? I mean, it seemed like the last game, Jay Vidovich was a little disappointed. In fact, they were doing a lot coming up the left side, but not enough kind of balance. And Burton Jockeson, especially on the right side, Lawfulson as well, the right back. I mean, he's just a pretty dynamic player. I mean, you want to get them involved, right?
I mean, you have to. I mean, Lawfulson's one of the best right backs I think I've ever seen play in Division I soccer. He's so dynamic, such a great attacking threat. Defensively gets the job done. You've got to be more balanced if you're playing, especially those teams that are super organized defensively, because if they can just sit back and they know what's coming each time, it's going to be a lot easier for them. So that's where, again, providing that balance, be able to move the play side to side. Because again, the more you move that Notre Dame defense side to side, gaps are going to start to open. And that's when you look for those penetrating passes, those quick 1 and 2 touches to kind of break the lines. And that's, obviously it's easier said than done, right? And it's hard when you're talking about, again, 18 to 22, 23-year-old males. But Pitt's been here before. They've had a chance to compete at this level before. So I'm anxious to see, what they've learned from their first 2 games against Notre Dame and what they've learned from being in this situation last year. So.
Yeah, I think that's really it. That experience hopefully will pay off for Pitt as they try to get into the College Cup. So we are going to watch closely tomorrow, and it should be a lot of fun. I'm sure as college soccer coaches go, the Elite Eight and the College Cup weekend, I'm sure it's pretty exciting for you and for a lot of the other college coaches.
Yeah, I mean, it's an awesome time of year. I'm still rooting for the year-round schedule where we get to do this more in April and May. But no, it's a great time of year. It's obviously a fantastic opportunity to showcase the sport. And I'm really looking forward. I think, what you're going to see is this weekend's games, and then the semifinal games in particular are going to be some outstanding soccer, some great players on display. The finals is always a little rough just because it's 24 hours after, basically with less than 48 hours after your last game. That's always tough to do. But no, so I'm really excited about this weekend. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch.
All right, Chase. Well, thank you, and I am right with you. We got to spread the word. We got to get the word out on the 21st century model of having the full season. I think we're all trying to. So hopefully that happens. Really, actually, the worst. If anything good came out of COVID was that extended year last year. I thought it was a good thing. But
I 100% agree with you, and hopefully that was a good trial run and showcased that this can be something. Men's soccer and just college soccer in general can be a lot bigger than it is right now, and if we put the resources and time towards it.
Absolutely. All right, Chase, thank you so much for joining me. Great insight, and I think it should be a lot of fun this weekend.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, Chase.